Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. We just got the biggest Hearthstone balance patch in the history of the game. 27 cards were changed and now the dust is starting to settle. We're a few days in, we have been able to play with all of the buffed and nerfed cards and yeah, there might still be a few surprises coming, but overall this looks like one of the most ineffective balance patches in the history of the game. It's the biggest patch, but yet it has the least effect. And how did that happen? So let's take a look at all the cards that were changed and what's the real effect of those changes? What has really happened with the cards? First of all, starting with the Imp Warlock nerf, Wild Library was nerfed. And what has happened to Imp Warlock? Well, Imp Warlock is a little bit weaker. It's still a strong deck. It's still a top 10 deck in the entire game. But it's a little weaker and Wild Library is no longer the best card in Imp Warlock. Both Imp King Rafam and probably the card that summons a bunch of imps are now stronger than Wild Library itself. So yeah, that was a minor nerf. The goal was a minor nerf, so okay. This worked exactly as expected. Then there was the nerf to the Stack Spirit Wild Seed, so the bow is now weaker. The effect hardly noticeable. Quest Hunter still great. Beast Hunter still great, actually even better than it was before the nerfs. And Face Hunter, well, Face Hunter took a tiny bit of a hit with this. Mostly Face Hunter is weaker because the meta has changed a little bit, but overall hardly noticeable. Then there's the Snowfall Guardian nerf, and before the nerfs were live, people were saying like, oh no, Control Shaman is going to die. I thought that Control Shaman was going to take a major hit from this one, and yeah, this was a really weird one, because the nerf itself is pretty big. This used to be one of the strongest cards in Control Shaman, and now it's one of the weakest cards in Control Shaman, and some people are even starting to experiment with lists that don't run it at all. But yeah, Control Shaman as an archetype, it's still going strong. The nerf just... Control Shaman has so many tools. The nerf didn't kill it at all, so that was a bit of a surprise. And then there were a couple of nerfs to some toxic decks, like Celestial Alignment. Celestial Alignment is dead. Added Wild, Kobold Illusionist, Big Rogue is dead. While Big Rogue did see some play in Wild in its heyday, then Celestial Alignment wasn't even played that much. So Celestial Alignment, sure, now it's dead, people don't bring it anymore, but it wasn't brought that much anyway, so you just didn't see it very much on the ladder unless you were in some very specific pockets. So it doesn't feel like much has changed, even though one archetype has been destroyed. So the nerfs had some effects, but there were only 4 nerfs to Standard and 1 nerf to Wild in this balance patch, and the majority of card changes were buffs. But that's really where the balance patch hasn't delivered, because the buffs haven't done nearly as much as Blizzard maybe I was hoping that they would do. First of all, they buffed the Relic Demon Hunter. This was probably a success story, because Relic Demon Hunter was already on the verge of viability, and they buffed Relic Vault, and Relic Vault is now a little bit better. And they buffed Relic of Extinction, and Relic of Extinction is now a little bit better. And Relic Demon Hunter just got that 1 percentage point, 2 percentage points, just enough to bump it into viability. Then Blizzard also wanted to push this Aggro Demon Hunter archetype that's going to throw cards back into their deck and discard cards and just draw a lot of cards that they had invented for this expansion. And that also has been some kind of success. Bibliomite is now better and it sees some play. And Magnifying Glaive is also better and now actually playable in that Aggro Demon Hunter archetype. Furthermore, unnerfing Battlegrounds Vanguard also made that one a little bit better. So Aggro Demon Hunter, like, it was below 50%, and now the very best list of that archetype is at 50%. So maybe it can survive, or maybe it can't, I'm not sure yet. But okay, they were able to get that one at least close to viability. Then there were also these other Demon Hunter buffs, like Abyssal Depths from 4 cost to 3 cost, and now people were really excited to put this in decks with Vandar, and it does not work. It's doing really poorly. And then one of the buffs that I was most excited about, Irebound Brute. I mean, Brutes were such fun once upon a time, but Brutes really needed that philosophy. You needed to be able to make copies of your Brute so that you can drop multiple Brutes at once. Because now, that lone Brute in this meta, yeah, sadly, no, Brute buff didn't do anything. Then there were some Paladin buffs trying to push both of the archetypes that are included in Castle Nathria, so Pure Paladin and Token Paladin. And the Countess is supposed to be like the grand wing condition of Pure Paladin, and it's a little bit better now. It was miserable, and now it's below average, so it doesn't still make Pure Paladin a thing. Then there are these buffs to Token Paladin, which could also translate into Pure Paladin buffs, but Stand Against Darkness, just no. Warhorse Trainer, well, no. because you can't make your recruits survive anyway. And promotion, well, how about no? That's just not enough stats. So that Paladin thing didn't really work out. Paladin didn't get any new playable decks. And then there were the Rogue buffs. Rogue needed some buffs to the card draw, and oh boy did Blizzard deliver with Edwin Defies Kingpin. A buff that whenever any player who had played Hearthstone in the last like 6 months saw this card and saw this buff, they were immediately like, why are you buffing this? And now we can see the results. Edwin is now the best Rogue card in the game. And Rogue got a couple of percentage points because of that. Miracle Rogue was already playable, and now it's actually good. So yeah, they managed to turn Rogue into a good class, and managed to make Edwin into the best Rogue card. As for the other Rogue buffs, Sprint, no. And then Silverleaf Poison. Silverleaf Poison is a little bit more interesting, because in the first days, the data from the first days, Silverleaf Poison actually looked pretty interesting, and now its win rate is going down. It might be playable. You might want to include this in a Rogue deck, I'm not certain yet. So we'll see, maybe that's good enough. But then there's Halkias, and that's just no. And then Blizzard also made some buffs to Warrior, both to Enrage Warrior and to Control Warrior. And Enrage Warrior, the location, which is not a great location, got a buff, and yeah, that doesn't do anything. Imbued Axe also got a buff. I expected Imbued Axe buff to be lowering its mana cost, which I thought would make it a great card, but turns out that giving those minions more health actually does do something. Because Imbued Axe is now one of the best cards in the Enrage Warrior deck, but Enrage Warrior decks are still pretty bad. And then they also gave some health to Cruel Taskmaster, so now it can survive in damaged form so that it can then get some buffs. Taskmaster was not played before it was buffed, but it is mediocre now in a pretty bad deck, so okay, it's a playable card if there was just a deck that would support it. And then they gave Control Warrior some buffs, but they gave Control Warrior buffs to Control Warrior's survivability tools, but they still didn't give Control Warrior any win conditions, so Control Warrior does not have any win conditions that are competitive in the current meta. Like, yeah, Tidal Revenant is better now, but Control Warrior is still dead. And Shield Shatter. Shield Shatter is now pretty good. Dealing 5 damage to all minions, Shield Shatter used to be a great card, even nerfed it was playable, it's a great card again. But it doesn't help you that you can survive a few turns longer if you don't have win condition, so you're still dead. Oh yeah, they also buffed Slam, but no. And Bash, but how about no. So overall, for such a huge balance patch, we didn't really get much. Like Control Shaman, I thought it would lose a lot more, but turns out Control Shaman is still perfectly playable. It's not the best deck in the game anymore, but it's still a top 10 deck. Really good deck. Rogue, well, everyone knew when they saw Edwin that Rogue is going to become better. Rogue became better. It's not dominant, but it's one of the best decks right now. Demon Hunter of the dead classes. Demon Hunter, Paladin, and Warrior. Demon Hunter is now doing the best. Because Relic Demon Hunter right now it's slightly above 50%. It might stay that way, or it might not. We'll see how it happens. But anyway, Relic Demon Hunter was already pretty close, so some buffs, alright, that's enough to push it over. Aggro Demon Hunter, also getting better, racing towards that 50%, unlikely to stay there though, unless the meta is really favorable for aggro decks. But then we have decks like Pure Paladin, like Quest Paladin, like Enrage Warrior, like Control Warrior. Well, Pure Paladin and Enrage Warrior are kind of closing in on that 50%, but I don't know if they're going to make it there. It doesn't look good for now at least. And as for something like Quest Paladin and Control Warrior, they just seem to be very, very, very dead. So many of these buffs are completely irrelevant to the game. Sure, you made some cards better, but because there are no decks where those cards can be played, then it's the same as if they were never buffed in the first place. So overall, the effects of this balance patch were significantly smaller than I had expected. It looks like we're going to need a lot more if we want to see 10 playable classes in Hearthstone. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.